Hello guys and welcome to another video. Now in this video we're going to be building another budget gaming PC. I'm just going to go over the parts. I've got my little book here for notes of what I've paid and stuff. So for the case, it's just one of those cases I've been using in the last couple of videos guys. The red case, ATX, and they were £19. So for the case it were £19. We've got a SSD which I bought off eBay for £10. We've got 8GB of DDR3, £15. For the motherboard and the cooler fan, which is not too bad at all, £20. Now this was really cheap, but we did have to sacrifice the I/O shield, so this motherboard didn't come with a I/O shield. But for £20, considering we've got the cooler and the motherboard, that's not too bad. And this is a LGA 1155 motherboard. For the hard drive, which is a 500GB hard drive, this was £5.45. For the CPU, we got a 2500K and that was £22. For the graphics card, this is a GTX 960 and that was £49.50. For the power supply, we're going with a Corsair 550 and that was £20. That was a really good bargain, that was. The 2-seater cable so we can connect the SSD and the hard drive, they were 50p each, that was £1. And because the case we're going to be using, although it's brand new, it didn't come with a rear exhaust fan, so I've had to get another fan and that was £3, which makes this gaming PC, this budget gaming PC, in total £164.95. So you might as well just call it £165 for this gaming PC. So right, enough for us yapping. I am going to try and overclock this 2500K a little bit with this fan. It's not a stock cooler, but you know, if we can get 3.8 I'll be happy. If higher, it's a bonus. We could have gone with an AIO, but I just wanted to keep things under £200. So let's get into it guys. And there we have it guys, all put together. So for £165 rounded up, let's see what level of performance we can get. So I'm going to install Windows 10 on this thing, overclock the CPU, overclock the GPU, and then we'll be right back. Alright, so we've got Windows 10 on there, and we can't overclock the 2500K because it's not an overclock motherboard, unfortunately. But I did manage to get the frequency from 3.3 to 3.5 by changing the BLCK from 100 value to 106, and that gave us a base frequency of 3.5. It will still turbo in games to 3.6. We have got an overclock on the GTX 960 of 130 on the core and 500 on the memory. So now let's test some games. All games will be tested in medium settings because I think this is where this system sits around. So everything will be in medium. Now if you are going to play this in every day-to-day situations, I would recommend low settings just because you're going to get more FPS. VRAM is going to be a limitation on the GTX 962GB, so bear that in mind, which is why I'm saying low, just because of the 2GB VRAM. So yeah, let's get into games. So here we have Battlefield 5, and we're in the 50s in medium, and it did feel very smooth to be fair. We were seeing 100% usage on the CPU, but it didn't look to be bottlenecking the GPU because the GPU was still at 99%. But yeah, for £165, you know, to be getting this sort of performance in Battlefield 5, I was actually quite impressed. And here we have Crysis 3. Now Crysis 3 were running at above 60 FPS most of the time, but we were getting some stutters in the FPS from time to time. It would dip into the 60s, 70s, but most of the time it was above 80 FPS. And we were seeing around 85% usage on the CPU. And yeah, you know, I mean, for this optimization on Crysis 3, I was actually quite surprised that we're actually getting these numbers out of this PC. Very, very impressed with that. Here we have Doom, and the majority of the time we were above 80 FPS, which I'm not surprised because this game is quite an easy game to run, and to be honest, it will run on a potato. But the graphics do look nice, and we're maintaining above 80 FPS. I think during gameplay we saw an 80% CPU usage and above. I think it went to around 90% towards the end. But yeah, this PC had no problem running Doom as well. Here we have GTA 5, and we actually did hit 100% usage a couple of times in GTA 5, and for some reason we were losing 4% of our GPU usage. I think it went down to 96%, but most of the time hovered around 97%. Although we were above 80 FPS most of the time in GTA 5 as well, so we were above 60 FPS anyway. And even in medium, GTA 5 is that older a game now. It will, it still looks great today, and it did run very well on this PC. Here we have Far Cry Primal, and again, we had no problem running this game at above 60 FPS. And I think this mammoth thinks I've got something against it because how many PCs I've actually tried and how many spears I've actually jabbed into this mammoth. Probably thinks I've got some sort of bandana against it. But yeah, this game we never saw 100% usage on CPU. We were getting 98% on the GPU, and we were always above 60 FPS. So this is another game that actually does pretty well on this PC. Here we have Far Cry New Dawn, and I let the in-game benchmark test this game for me, and we were seeing 100% usage on the CPU. Now we were getting 50s to 60s FPS, and by the time the end of this benchmark, the average FPS was 51 FPS, but we were seeing 100% on the CPU, which was slightly bottlenecking the GPU, and we were also 600 MB over on our VRAM limit, so we're hitting a VRAM limitation in this game as well. But apart from that, it was running in 50 FPS. But if you are running this sort of hardware with the new AAA titles, I would recommend turn down to low, just so you're underneath the 2GB VRAM limit, and then you're gonna have like a near enough 60 FPS player experience. But apart from that, it was very playable. So here we have Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and again we were maxing out the CPU straight away at 100%. We're still getting 99% though on the GPU, but we are getting VRAM limitations again because we are near our 2 GB limit. So I let the in-game benchmark run Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and we did end up with an average FPS of 41. Now I recommend if you are going to play this game with sort of hardware, you want to go down to low, then you might be near enough 50 FPS. But this game seems too demanding for this hardware. Here we have the Outer Worlds, and again, CPU usage is around 90 to 100%. We were getting, most of the time, over 50 FPS, but we were getting stutters in the game as well. Apart from the stutters, though, it did feel very playable. Like I said, we had a stutter right there. You do get those in the game with this hardware, but for most of the time, it did feel playable. Around, most of the time we're around 50 FPS. And yeah, to be saying how old this hardware actually is, to be running a 2019 game like 50 to 60 FPS, I was very impressed. In Heaven benchmark, we got 61.6 FPS in medium, which is not too bad at all. We also scored 486 in Cinebench. Not a great score, but not a bad score either. So let's summarise. Alright, so on the CPU we were seeing 100%, quite a lot usage. The graphics card went to like 97%, so there were slightly a little bit over bottleneck there. But most of the time, in AAA games, we're seeing 50 FPS in medium, which I would consider playable. In some games like GTA and Crysis, we were seeing, well above 80 to 100 frames. But like I say, in like Far Cry 5 and Far Cry New Dawn, you're going to want to turn it down to low, just because you're seeing 2.6 gigabyte on VRAM, so we're overworking the VRAM. So we definitely want to turn it down to low if we were going to game on this 24/7. And yeah, not a little bad machine for price. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more, and give it a thumbs up. See you in the next one. Thanks for watching.